ॐ सदाशिवसमारम्भां शङ्कराचार्यमध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरुपरम्पराम् ॐ सहनावतु ॐ What happened? ॐ सहनावतु
नाववतु
सहनौ भुनक्तु
सहनौ भुनक्तु सह
वीर्यं
वीर्यं
कर्वावहै
करवावहै
तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा
तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा
विद्विषावहै
विद्विषावहै ॐ
ॐ
शान्ति
शान्ति शान्ति
शान्ति
शान्तिः
शान्तिः
हरि ओम् Om Tat Sat. Morning, everybody.
Good morning, Acharya.
So, in the last class, we had seen up to Karika number 12. This is the second chapter, Vaithatya Prakaranam of Maandukya Karikas, Mandukya Upanishads. So, let us see the 13th Karika today. We will chant. Vikarotya paran bhavan
करोत्यपरान् धामाम्
antaschitte vyavasthitan
अन्त्यश्चित्ते
अन्तश्चित्ते
व्यवस्थितान्
व्यवस्थितान्
नियतांश्च बहिश्चित्तः
नियतांश्च
यस्य
बहिश्चित्तः
एवं कल्पयते प्रभुः
एवं
एवं
कल्पयते
कल्पयते
प्रभुः.
So, look at the words. Prabhuhu vikaroti aparan bhavan. So, aparan bhavan are the other objects. So, these are the objects in the dream. Prabhuhu vikaroti, the Lord projects. And where are those in the dream state? Where are those objects? Where are those aparan bhavan? Antaschitte vyavasthitan. Antaschitte. They are present in your chittaha, in your mind. Vyavasthitan. They are present. And evam kalpayate. In the same manner. In the same manner as the objects in your dream are projected. And those objects are nowhere but in your mind. But they are projected. Niyatamscha bahishchitta evam. It also projects the objects, very clear objects, bahishchittam, where your mind is directed outwards. Right. What is being said? That there is a similarity in the objects which you see in your dream and in the objects in which you see in your Jagrata Avastha. So this is the question of, this Karika is dealing with the question of how is the world created by me? Right? How do I create the world? Who am I? I am Brahman, Turyam, with Maya Shakti. And I create this twofold world. Both the worlds I only create. Which world? The internal world of Swapna, of dreams, and the external world of waking, the Jagrada Avastha. Now, for both the worlds, Gaudapada is saying, there is only one instrument which is being used. What is that? The mind. What is the proof that the mind is the instrument which creates Jagrada Avastha as well as Swapna Avastha? What is the proof?
During Sushupti, there is all of these are absent.
We can barely hear whoever is talking. So could you talk slightly louder?
I said during Sushupti, the mind is resolved. So that is the time when we can't see both these.
Yeah. So during Sushupti, your mind is resolved. And in the resolved state, there is neither the Swapna Avastha nor the Jagrada Avastha. Very good. That is the answer. Because the mind is, where mind is there, right? Anvaya Vatireka. When mind is there, both worlds are there. When mind is not there, both worlds are not there. What is the conclusion? The mind is responsible for creation of both the worlds. So only when the mind functions, both these universes appear. Both the Swapna Prapancha and the Jagrat Prapancha, they are there only when there is the mind. In Sushupti mode, the mind is not there, so there is no world at all, neither Swapna nor Prapancha. Now the question is, how does the mind function? Right? So when the mind is not facing outside, right? Remember that in Jagrada Avastha, the mind is facing outside. What is the connection between the mind facing outside and the mind facing inside? What particular, sorry?
Sense organs are active.
Very good. So when the mind is facing outside, the sense organs are active, which means it is the Jagrada Avastha. But when the sense organs are not operating in the dream Avastha, then the mind has no way to face the external world. So it is operating inside. It is introverted. When it is introverted, since there is no stimulus by way of the sense organs from the external world, what is the stimulus which creates the dream world? Your internal vasanas in your mind. So, an important idea here, a mind which is operating under the push, under the influence of vasanas, is the introverted mind. And in this introverted mind, that mind lives in the Swapna Avastha. There is no way for it to interact with Jagrata Avastha. When the mind is functioning through the sense organs normally, then it is Jagrata Avastha because the mind is extroverted. It is able to interact with the external world. So, this we need to remember. When vasanas are predominant, mind is introverted. So, when vasanas are dormant, then the indriyas are predominant. When indriyas are predominant, vasanas are dormant. Right? So, when indriyas are dormant, then vasanas are predominant. So, this we should remember. And who is the common observer for both the worlds? The one who illumines both the worlds. Here the word observer has to be taken as the illuminer. The illuminer of both the worlds, Swapna as well as Jagrat, is nothing but Turyam, the Chaitanya. Right? Now, as long as you remain as the one who illumines, the one who reveals, then you are Turyam. But the moment you associate with one of those experiences, and you say, I am father, I am mother, I am happy, I am unhappy. If the experiences are in the Jagrata Avastha, then you are called Vishwa, not Turyam anymore. If those experiences are in the dream, so if you are saying, I am father of this child who is the child in the dream, you are in a dream. Therefore, you are Taijasa. Thus, both the Swapna Avastha, Swapna Prapancha and the Jagat Prapancha are the creation of one me. I the Atma, I the Turyam. But of course, I take the help of Maya Shakti for this purpose. That is the 13th Karika. Now we go to the 14th one. We will chant. Please unmute yourself. Chitta hi yantastu
चित्तकाला ह्यन्तस्तु
Tasttu
Dvayakalascha ye bahihi
द्वयकालाश्च ये
Vayakalaschaye
बहिः
bahihi
Kalpita eva te sarve
कल्पिता
kalpita
एव ते
eva
सर्वे
te
विशेषो नान्य हेतुकः.
विशेषो नान्यहेतुकः
विशेषणान्यहेतुकः
So ye antastu, right? So you can break it up. Ye antaha tu. So tu is the segregator, but ye antaha, that which is inside, that which is experienced inside, chitta kalahi. Chitta kala literally means is subjective, right? Chitta kalahi is subjective because it is inside your mind. There is nothing outside. Subjective means it is available only to the subject. So that which is experienced inside your mind is not available to anybody else, right? It is only for me. That is my subjective. And ye bahihi, that which is experienced outside, dvaya kalascha, is objective, is available to be perceived by everybody else. Why dvaya kalaha? Because number one, I can perceive it. Everybody else can perceive it. More importantly, that object perceives, exists when I can see it, when I can experience it. Right? The tree outside my window exists when I perceive it. And that object continues, that tree continues to exist when I do not perceive it. A very important idea, right? So there are many darshanas which contradict this, but we are talking about Vedanta. So that object which exists when you are seeing it, when you are experiencing it, and which continues to exist when you are not experiencing it. For example, you are in Sushupti Avastha, but that object continues to exist because somebody else can see it. Right? So he says, now here is the crux. He says that that object which is being experienced inside, ye antaha, and ye bahihi, that which is being experienced outside, vishesho na anya hetukaha. They do not really have any visheshaha, any differences at all. Why? Sarve te kalpita eva. They are all kalpita only. They are all imaginary only. They are all projections only. They are all mithya only. So here he doesn't give the reason. We have to supply the reason. Why is this object mithya? So there are two reasons we talk about. One is they are being perceived, right? In both cases, there is perception. There is an internal perception in the case of objects in your mind. In the case of objects outside your mind, there is a perception outside. So drishyatvat, Sanskrit word, drishyatvat, because of being a drishyam, because of being an object of perception. That is one reason why it is mithya, right? The other reason is anityatvat, because of being anityam, because of being temporary, because of not being permanent. Both the objects in your dream and in the Jagrada Avastha both have a beginning and an end. So anitya. Remember that both are creations. The tree in your dream has a creator. The tree outside your window in Jagrada Avastha has got a creator. So we use different words, but both are creations. For the tree which in my dream, I say Jiva Srishti because created by Jiva, me. For the tree outside in Jagaradavastha, I don't say Jiva Srishti because I can't create that tree as a Jiva. That is Ishvara Srishti. Right? So in this Karika, what is being discussed is actually the views of a philosopher, not a darshana, right? So he is in these karikas, that philosopher is giving his definition for reality. So he says, whatever has an objective existence is real. Whatever has a subjective existence is not real. Right? So objective, subjective, we have discussed. Subjective existence means that it is the existence of that object is dependent upon you. As long as you see it, it exists. Like the tree in your dream. As long as the dream is there, you are perceiving the tree, that tree is existing. When the dream is broken, when you wake up, that tree is gone. Right? And objective existence means whether you are seeing it or not, that tree exists. So the tree outside your house is an objective existence. Right? It means that when you look away from that tree, it doesn't disappear. Okay. Are we clear on this?
Just one point here.
Yeah.
Uh, when I see the tree outside,
Yeah.
it exists
Yeah.
for me at the moment.
Correct.
But as I am listening to you right now on screen,
Uh,
and as while the tree is existing on its own, but for me it is not an existence.
that is precisely what this philosopher is saying.
Huh.
That tree doesn't exist when you don't see it. Remember, we are discussing contrary darshanas. So this is Purva
So
Pakshi.
not only in dream state, I
Uh,
mean, is my conclusion correct? Not only in dream state, but even without dream state, also the things may be existing for others, but may not be perceived by me at that particular point in time.
this is the precise point of this
Okay,
Purva Pakshi's
okay,
Karika. He is saying that
okay,
if you see it exists, if you don't see it doesn't exist. Right.
okay.
So his
Thank you.
idea of reality is that which has got objective existence is real. That which has got subjective existence is not real. So he is making a difference. What you are saying, in either case, it is not there. But here he is saying his idea is not that. He says that what is there in Jagrata Avastha will continue, that tree will continue to exist whether you are seeing it or not.
Okay,
Right? And in the dream state, it won't exist. So that is the idea he's saying. Therefore, he says that which has got an objective existence is real, and that which has got a subjective existence is not real. Right?
okay.
So you can,
Thank you.
take an example. Let us say you have a dream, right? Where, let us say Miss Universe, the latest Miss Universe phones you and says, I want to meet you at the airport and I'll give you $1 million. Right? So in your dream, what is happening? You are getting up, dressing up, putting on your aftershave and running to the airport, right? Unfortunately, what happens? At that point of time, the milkman rings the bell. And that bell is going into your head in your dream and you wake up. Will you still call for the cab to go to the airport? No, because now you are in Jagrata Avastha and Miss Universe and the $1 million were in your dream Avastha. Therefore, that Miss Universe and that $1 million have a subjective experience, a subjective existence. So he is saying that, this philosopher is saying that this objective existence of the objects in the dream is not there in Jagrata Avastha. Therefore, he says dream is unreal because nothing in the dream has objective existence, whereas the Jagrata Avastha is real because everything has got objective existence. Okay, now let us come to Sudhir's point. What is wrong with this definition? What is the definition? Dream is unreal because it does not have objective existence. Jagrata Avastha is real because it has got objective existence. What is wrong with the definition? Nobody?
Sorry, can I try, Acharya?
Please, please.
If we look at the two reasons given that about perception and anityatvam, they apply even to the Jagrat Prapancha. It is what I perceive is not necessarily what another person perceives.
That's
And
not true.
Jagrat
That
is
is not true.
also Nitya.
If your eyes are working and Sudhi's eyes are working and there's a tree in front of you, both of you will see the tree. That is not correct.
Okay, okay, okay.
Acha, the objects in Jagrita are also mithya. So
That is not what the argument is, right? The argument is of the Purva Pakshi who says that it is only the objects in the dream which are mithya because they exist only for you, the dreamer. And that objects in the Jagrata Avastha are not mithya or satyam because they exist for everybody. That is what he is saying. So I am asking what is wrong with that definition?
Raviji, may I try?
Yeah, yes, Nattu, please, please.
See, it revolves on the definition of existence. Normally, the definition given of satyam or existence in the earlier, teaching is that one, it has to be permanent, it has to be independent.
Yeah.
Right? Now, in this case, let's say the tree or me or anything, they are neither permanent nor are they independent. So, if you use that definition, then they are not satyam or they do not exist.
Correct. Okay. So fine. I mean, your definition is correct. So let me put it in other words. He is saying that there is a subjective reality. This subjective reality, however, is a tricky word, right? Because you can say that the tree was a subjective reality when after you
When
wake up.
I was perceiving.
After you
yeah,
wake up.
Jagrata.
When you are in Swapna Avastha, it is not a subjective reality for you because you are the dreamer. So in the dream, the Swapna objects, the Swapna Prapancha, the dreamer, everybody is real. In your dream, you never think, the dreamer never thinks that the dream is a projection. So dream is objective reality for the dreamer. The dream prapancha, Swapna prapancha becomes subjective only from the waker's point of view. That is the flaw in the definition. Because he is standing in Jagrata Avastha and he is defining Swapna Avastha. You can define Swapna Avastha, the reality of Swapna Avastha, you can define inside Swapna Avastha. Right? Therefore, it's a relative definition. So that's what he says. Te sarve kalpita eva. On waking up, you will find that the internal world in the dream is mithya, and you will find that the external world in the dream is also mithya. So, Visheshaha na anya hetukaha. This idea of subjectivity and objectivity, internal and external differences, na anya hetaka, are not a reason to talk about one being mithya and one being satyam. Because both become mithya on waking up. Right? What is Gaudapada saying? This Jagrata Avastha becomes mithya when? When you wake
At
up
Paramarthika level.
at Paramarthika level. When you wake up spiritually, when you wake up to your real nature, then Jagrata Avastha also mithya. Therefore, just as you wake up from your dream and the dream avastha is mithya, similarly, when you wake up to your higher nature, the Jagrata Avastha is also mithya. Therefore, the definition of this philosopher about objectivity and subjectivity being the cause of reality and non-reality, that is not acceptable. That is the Karika's idea. Okay. And again, I'll repeat, whenever we talk about mithyatvam of something, especially in the case of the dream world, remember that you can never say that the dream is not true from the dreamer's point of view. It is always from the higher reality. It is from the Vyavaharika reality, Vyavaharika Satyam, which is one step higher than Pratibhasika Satyam. Pratibhasika Satyam is a subjective reality. Vyavaharika Satyam is a objective reality. So Vyavaharika is always one step higher than Pratibhasika. From the Vyavaharika level, you can say that dream was unreal. Dream objects are unreal. Everything is subjective. Similarly, from one step above the Vyavaharika, which is Paramarthika, you can say that Jagrada Avastha is subjective. That is the idea of that Karika. Okay. Any question? All very, very important ideas to be mulled over in the head. Okay. Number 15. Karika number 15. Avyakta eva yantastu.
Avyakta evayantastu.
Sputa eva cha ye bahihi.
Puta eva cha ye bahihi.
Kalpita eva te sarve.
Kalpita eva te sarve.
Visheshastvindriyantare.
Visheshastvindriyantare.
So just for clarity, the first word of the second quarter in the first line, sputa, is sputa. Okay, sphu, not sphu. Sputa eva. The pa is pa, not fa. Okay. So tu, but ye antaha. Again, the beginning is the same. Ye antaha. That which is being experienced inside, avyakta evaha, seems unclear, seems unmanifest. While ye bahihi, that which is outside, sphuta evacha, is very, very clear. Sphuta means clear, right? Even though what is experienced inside appears to be unclear, unmanifest, and what is experienced outside appears to be very clear and very manifest, te sarve kalpita eva, they are all mithya only. Indriya antare visheshaha tu. Indriya antare visheshaha. Visheshaha, the differences are due to what? Indriya antare, to the functioning of the different indriyas. So this is another philosopher's theory, okay, another Purapakshi. He says, what is experienced clearly is Satyam, and what is experienced vaguely is Mithya. So you can see what he is saying. The Jagrada Avastha is experienced very clearly, everything is clear in the Jagrada Avastha, therefore it is Satyam. But in Swapna Avastha, everything is not very clear, so therefore it is Mithya. Right? What is the answer? What should it be? Should be the answer? The answer is that objects may appear clear from the standpoint of one instrument, of one indriya, and may appear unclear from the standpoint of another indriya. So let me explain that. Our perception of the world always depends upon the status, healthy or otherwise, of the indriyas being used. Can you give an example?
Vision can be clear, it can be unclear. Some people may have defective vision, they may look at it in a different manner.
Good. So I can see the world in different colors.
Yeah.
There may be some people who have color defects or who are color blind, so they will not see the colors.
Yes.
And therefore, the argument is wrong. That what is clear is Satyam and what is not clear is not Satyam. Another example I can give you is that when you use a dog whistle, for those of you who got dogs, when you use a dog whistle, what is the sound? Nobody has
And but the depends on different creatures and the frequencies that they perceive.
No, what is the speciality about a dog whistle?
I don't know.
Anybody? Come on. Nattu,
You can
and
hear sounds which human ear can't. They can hear those sounds.
the dog whistle, you cannot
Yeah,
hear.
correct.
Okay. You cannot hear the dog whistle. It's got a
Yeah.
frequency which the dog can hear.
Yes.
Right. So again, it doesn't mean that the sound is not there. Right. One more very very famous example is that your eyes do not have the capacity to see everything very minutely. If it had, if it was as clear as an electron microscope, let us for example, when you see the world, what would you see?
Microorganisms.
Yeah. Not clear. It
You would
would.
see only atoms in motion with large spaces in between.
Right.
I mean, I don't think even even with electronic, microscope can see that. But that's what science tells us. That when reduced to the minimum, what is there? There are only atoms in motion, huge spaces in between. So the very idea that you have that something is solid, that is only because your sense of touch is not able to distinguish that. Right? Unclear and non-clear. And therefore, Jagrada Avastha is clear from the standpoint of the Indriyas of the Jagrada Avastha. The Swapna Avastha is clear from the standpoints of the Indriyas of the Swapna Avastha. But if you try to remember what you saw in your dream, you are using your wakers in Indriyas, Jagrada Avastha Indriyas. Therefore, it is unclear. And therefore, the idea is that what this Purvapakshi is saying about clarity being the deciding factor for something Satyam or Mithya, that is, we do not accept. Right? Mithya is existing, but only from a particular standpoint. When you remove the standpoint, you shift the standpoint, it becomes irrelevant. For example, Amavasya or Paurnami, what are they?
The moon was seen from the earth, or no? The moon
It is the
remains.
standpoint of the earth. But supposing you have landed on the moon, which day is Amavasya and which day is Paurnami?
Mm, that's good.
Right. Another
That's good.
example, famous one is the directions. When you talk about any direction, what is the first direction you fix?
East.
East. How do you fix that?
Sun.
Sun.
By saying which side the sun is. Now, if you are standing on the sun, which is east, which is west, that must have no meaning, right? So all these are mithya. That's what he's saying, that all these words, they have got a meaning from a particular framework. You step outside the framework and things become different. So when you look upon yourself as a jiva, which means consciousness embodied in the three bodies, from the standpoint of the physical bodies, the Jagrat Prapancha is very, very, very real. Right? Anybody who looks at the world only through the sense organs without understanding the mithyatva nature of the sense organs, thinking that these physical bodies are real, for him the world is also real. that mithya world which Shastra drums into our heads, mithya, 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 it is taken as Satyam. Why? Because everybody's reference point is Sthula Sharira. Right? Now, if you shift that reference point to Sukshma Shariram, where in the Swapnavastha, for the dream Indriyas, there is no Jagrat Prapancha at all. And the Swapna Prapancha becomes Satyam. But that is also Mithya. Relative, it is Mithya because it changes depending upon the Pramanam, the instrument of knowledge, the medium of transaction. Therefore, he says, objects in Jagrat Prapancha are as much Mithya as objects in Swapna Prapancha. Therefore, the idea that Satyatvam or Mithyatvam should not be decided upon what is clear and what is not clear, that is being conveyed. Right? So, what is change? What is the real basis of Mithya and Satyam? What is the real distinction between Mithya and Satyam? We saw the definition of Satyam in
When
Tattvabodha.
Trikari-
Trikale tishtati iti sat. So that which is Nityam is Satyam. That which is Anityam is Mithya. So in the last few karikas we have seen 4 ideas being discussed. Utility, externality, objectivity, and clarity or clearness. Right? So these are the words which were used, ideals were used to say that this should be the criteria for deciding what is Satyam and what is Mithya. One said utility, one said externality, one said objectivity, and one said clarity. So all these words are acceptable to us. But for saying Vyavaharika Satyam only, right? Because all words themselves are Mithya. Therefore, for us, we can accept these ideas, but not as final. As a transitional phase in understanding, utility is good in Vyavaharika Satyam. Objectivity, Vyavaharika Satyam. Clarity, Vyavaharika Satyam. Okay. Now we look at the next Karika, Karika number 16. We'll chant. Jeevam kalpayate purvam
जीवं कल्पयते पूर्वं
tato bhavan पृथग् विदान्
ततो भावान् पृथक् विदान्
बाह्यानाध्यात्मिकं बाह्यानाध्यात्मिकांश्चैव
बाह्यानाध्यात्मिकांश्चैव
यथा विद्यस्तथा स्मृतिः.
यथा विद्यस्तथा स्मृतिः.
So we said that first the Ishvara projects the Jiva, right? First the Jiva is projected. Thereafter various objects which are external as well as internal and so on. So here there is a question raised by the Purvapakshi. You are saying that everything is mithya because everything is projected. So Purvapakshi says, fine. If everything is projected, who is the one who projects? That is the question. What is the answer? We have already seen the answer in the last class. Karika 11 and 12. Who is the projector? No? You are not revising. This is Unless you are familiar with what was done in the last class, you will end up, struggling over here.
Atma, Brahman.
Okay, I'll accept that, but I'll refine it. The answer was Antaryami. Pragnya and Antaryami. Tritiya Pada. Right? So this Karika is now further development on that answer given in the 11th and 12th Karika. So if the Pragnya, Antaryami Ishvara, is the projector of the entire universe, is there any method in this projection? Or is it just, random? Is it madness? Is there any method in that madness? So here, in his commentary, Shankaracharya gives a very nice statement. He says, Bahya Atmikanam Bhavanam, the objects in the external world and the internal world. That is to say, Jagrata Avastha and Swapna Avastha. In other words, the objective and subjective parts. He says that they have a mutual cause and effect relationship. Nimitta naimittikataya, he says. They have a iteretara nimitta naimittikataya. They have a mutual cause and effect relationship. The external world of objects, therefore, influences the internal world of knowledge and emotion. Okay, which means what? The karta has got an influence on the bhokta. Now, let's try to understand. When you do some karma, right? What is the flow of that karma? I have done karma, and therefore what happens?
The karma phalam.
Karma phalam comes into being. Now, if I have done, let us say, for argument's sake, 100 units of karma when I was 30 years old. Now that I am 70, can I say that all the 100 units have been used up as, has been experienced? Yes,
It's
no?
difficult to say.
No,
Difficult.
We don't.
some goes to the next.
You cannot make a statement that all the 100 units have been experienced.
Yeah.
Let us say you say that 30 units have been, or 50 units, 60 units have been experienced. What happens to the other 40 units? Okay, so you can say that whenever karma phalam has been created because of karma, some part of it is what they call experienced, which means as a bhokta, you have experienced some part of that karma phalam. But some of those karma phalam remain in you as an influence for future karma. They remain as vasanas. See, karma phalam is divided into vasanas as well as that which has been that which is experienced, right? So that we have seen before also. Karma phalam can always be classified into two. That which influences or that which affects the bhokta and that which affects the karta. You remember? Karma phalam always categorized as two. Influencing or affecting the bhokta and affecting the karta. What you experience by way of pain and pleasure, that you experience in your role as bhokta. What remains behind as vasanas, that you experience as what? As influencing your thinking patterns. That is what they call vasanas. And those thinking patterns influence your future karma. You agree?
Yes.
Yes.
So which is the cause and which is the effect? That is what is being said here. It is not possible to say which is the cause and which is the effect, because there is a cause effect relationship between the external world and the internal world. Your karma phalam, which has been generated by your experience by your karma in the external world, has been converted into some phalam which you experienced as sorrow and pleasure. The remaining karma phalam is now influencing you to do more karma. In all your karmas, the way you do that karma is also going to be influenced by what vasanas have been created. And therefore, you cannot say which is the cause, which is the effect. So he says, Kalpanayahi kim moolam iti uchyate. What is the projection? What is the basis for this projection if it is asked? Right? Now, here it is important to say that when you say what is the basis, we normally think of a starting point. But in any Srishti, the Srishti, Sthiti, Laya, it's a cycle, right? It is not logical to talk about starting points. But if you need to understand, you have to have a starting point. Therefore, whenever you talk about the Srishti cycle, Srishti, Sthiti, Laya is the cycle. Creation, maintenance, destruction, right? That's a cycle. And really speaking, you cannot take anyone as the beginning because it's a circle. But for the sake of understanding, you have to start somewhere, and therefore you start with Srishti. Okay, the technical word for this in Shastram, Pratipatti Kramaha, the sequence necessary for understanding. Kramaha, sequence for Pratipatti, for understanding. You can also call it Jnana Kramaha, sequence necessary for your Jnanam to be formed. Okay. Now, why is the sequence necessary? Because the Jagat is relevant only when Jiva is there. When Jiva is not there, who will talk about Jagat? And when we talk about Jivas, we can talk about three types of Jivas. Jivas with predominant Punyam. So Punya Pradhana Jiva. Jivas with predominant Papam. Papa Pradhana Jiva. And Jivas which have got a mixture of both. Mishra Pradhana Jiva. Mishra means uh, mixture of Punya and Papa. So whenever we talk about Punya Pradhana Jivas, remember you are talking about the higher lokas. Whenever you talk about Papa Pradhana Jivas, you are talking about lower lokas. It is only when you talk about Mishra Pradhana Jivas that we come to Manusya Loka. And that is why he says, Jivam Kalpayate Purvam. In keeping with the type of Jiva which has been Purvam created, which has been created first. Right? The Jiva is created first, and then Ishvara looks at the Jivas and say, okay, for them to undergo the experiences according to their karma phalam, what sort of loka is necessary? Right? Jiva is the base. Unless you know what are the punya papa, unless you means unless Ishvara knows. Unless Ishvara knows what are the collective punya papam of all the jivas, how will he decide what sort of loka to give you? And therefore the 14 lokas are created later on. So first jiva, then the infrastructure. So in Tattvabodha also remember, very subtly, we didn't discuss it so boldly over there, but very subtly, this idea is given out. How? What was created first? Tattvabodha.
Space, Akasha.
No.
Talking about that.
Tanmatras were discussed first.
Okay.
Then Bhautikani is later. Well, the same idea. Tanmatras, from the Tanmatras, this subtle, the Jiva or subtle body was born. Then there is the Bhautikani, the grossification of the subtle elements, right? And therefore, here at least we should be very clear, in any order of creation, Jiva must be first, then the lokas. But again, remember, it's a cycle. Therefore, this is only for jnana kramaha, only for the sake of understanding. You cannot say that Jiva has to be created first, simply because the whole thing is a cycle. Therefore, you say Jivam kalpayate purvam. In the beginning, Jivas are created, and once Jivas are there, those Jivas are not created afresh, right? That is why the cycle is there. If the cycle was not there, if you started Srishti as a straight line, then there is a big problem when Jivas are created. What is that?
The karma phalam is how would the karma phalam be the reason for?
Yeah. So you will create, Ishvara will create Jivas without Punyam Papam, if you have to create in a straight line. Therefore, there is no requirement of higher, lower, and intermediate lokas at all. And therefore, he says Tataha. Jivam kalpayate purvam. In the beginning, Jivas were created. Tataha. After that, Bahyan, external, Prithik vidhan bhavan. Different objects were created. So first the jivas, then the external world was created, and adhyatmikams chaiva, and the various internal objects were also created. So there is a objective world, which is Ishvara Srishti. Then there is a internal mental world of vasanas. And yatha vidha tatha smriti. Just as the knowledge is there, so is the memory. So the internal world, the mind and its structure is very important in this idea, because it is a mind which is interacting with the external world. Remember that, and even though external world is same for all, we have to understand that there is a public world and a private world. What is that? I'm sure all of you know, advanced students. Even though you are facing the same external world, are there two worlds? One is a public world and one is a private world.
No,
Okay, would you like to say why it is no?
because whatever you experience in private actually gets reflected in the public also. So it's just the same thing.
Let me ask you, Shweta, what is it that
Yeah.
you dislike most? I'm just say something which you dislike.
Mm, first,
Beg your pardon?
actually, there's if you take things personally, then only you can dislike or like.
No, we are not going to the philosophy behind it. I'm just saying, name one
Sorry.
object which you dislike.
Object.
Anything. Ice cream, music, dandiyaras, whatever. So many things are there in this world which you can like or not like.
I don't
Like,
feel any dislike in that.
see a
But
say lizard or a cockroach? Can we say like that also? Maybe.
Cockroach you dislike. Right. Now, anybody here is there who doesn't dislike a cockroach? Shweta, you can't, you'll have to answer the question saying that you don't dislike because you said they don't dislike anything.
I'm pretty neutral about it actually. But I mean, what I experience about a cockroach is like generally people they jump or they dislike, they have this aversion for looking at the cockroach because they have this association that the cockroach might have gone to a dirty place and then it's here, and they have this
Okay, let me
yeah,
divert this situation and I'll tell
yeah,
you a story. Okay. So there was once upon a time, let us say there was a batch, a TTC batch. Okay. They went, the students batch in the teacher training program. They went to Kanyakumari on a trip. So on the way back, we stopped at a, place which was not very, very clean. Now, when we were having tea, one big cockroach is a good idea, one big cockroach jumped and first sat on the hand of one student. That student screamed and she jumped up and the poor cockroach was frightened. So it flew away, right? Then it sort of settled on another boy's hand. He also yelled and screamed and cockroach flew away. Then that cockroach, after some, many iterations, it fell on the hand of one of the teachers. What did the teacher do? He got up, he went outside, he dusted his hand. Cockroach fell off and he came back. Now,
yeah,
the idea of the story is what is the object here? The public world. What is the object? The cockroach.
Ouch.
And what made it private?
The reaction.
The boy, and the teacher. Two had two saw the cockroach through the veil of their own likes and dislikes. The third one also saw the cockroach, but his likes and dislikes were less. So there is a public cockroach and there is a private cockroach. This is what I meant by public world and private world. A world which is shaped by your own personality. So in Vedanta, you have to clearly accept and be honest. There is a public world, there is a private world. When I look at the world and interact with the world, mostly I interact shaped by my own personality. Right? So there is a Ishvara Srishti outside. In the story, the Ishvara Srishti was a cockroach. The Jiva Srishti was a cockroach as perceived through my own likes and dislikes. So the world by itself has neither joy nor sorrow. It is Ishvara Srishti. Ishvara Srishti is devoid of both. But it is your own likes and dislikes, your own character, which lends it so sorrow, happiness, neglect, whatever. Right? And
the experience.
more importantly, know that something which is a source of joy for me can be a source of sorrow for you. Again, completely different public world and private world. And that is why he says, Yatha vitaha tatha smritihi. The jiva looks around, he gets knowledge of the same. So the first stage is jhanati, he knows. And when you know, remember that you are not a mere objective observer. That is only a jnani who can do that. But the normal jiva, when he knows, he does a mental classification. This is a source of joy, this is a source of sorrow. So tatha smritihi means there is subjective judgment. The same experience will form different ideas in the minds of different people. One will say this is a source of joy, sukha hetuhu. One will say this is a source of sorrow. And as you experience that, so you will remember tatha smritihi. Same way you will remember. And once you classify something as joyful or sorrowful, what is your next attempt? You will want to repeat the experiences of joy and you will want to reject the experiences of sorrow. Therefore, Jnanam and Sparanam produce the desire to repeat what you think is joy and to avoid what you think is pain. So, Janati, Ichhati, Smarati. He knows, he remembers, and he makes necessary efforts. Right? Yatate. He makes the necessary efforts. This is what is meant.
Sir,
Yeah,
may I ask a question?
please.
So normally here we are using Jiva Shrishti with the meaning of our private world. But we say Jiva Shrishti is the dream world, isn't it?
Dream world is a private world. It can be extended to your, because your private world, nobody else sees but you.
That's the connection.
That is the connection.
Yes.
Even though both are seeing the same object, you see it differently.
Yes. Subjective.
Okay. So with this, Om Purnamadav Purnamidam
Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate
Purnasya
Purnasya
Purnamadaya
Purnamadaya
Meva
Mevavashishyate
Om
Om
Shanti
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 Om Tat Sat Om
Thank
Namah Shivaya. Thank you for
you,
Om Tat
sir.
Sat.
Thank you,
Thank you,
Abhijit.
sir.